What is What is poppin', my fellow home slices? The name's Aiden. Welcome back to another autism video. Today, we're going to talk about autism and meltdowns, and what to do when you see somebody having a meltdown. Let's get straight into it. In order to know what to do when you see somebody having a meltdown, we must first know what meltdowns are. Meltdowns often get confused with tantrums. So, let's look at the difference right over here. So the definition of a meltdown is an outburst of severe emotional distress, a nervous breakdown. For example, they wondered what could have triggered her meltdown. Where there's so much feeling built up inside of you that you just lose control of your body and then all heck breaks loose. Now, the definition of a tantrum is an uncontrolled outburst of anger and frustration, typically in a young child. He has temper tantrums if he can't get his own way. And that is usually why people have tantrums to begin with. So let's say you see a child at a store with this toy, and he immediately falls in love with the toy, and he begs his parents or guardians, "Yo, can I please..." Well, I mean, I'm sure he wouldn't sound like that. But the parents say no. You know, it could be for any reason at all. But either way, the child is not going to be able to get that toy in that moment. And so then the child gets mad. But meltdowns. Now, a meltdown, at least for me, is when I just lose control of my body. I can't take it anymore. I can't handle trying to be a certain way. For example, I'll be in a setting that is extremely crowded and I feel like I'm getting absolutely engulfed in the crowd, and then I get a sensory overload, and then it becomes unbearable for me. I might find myself breathing heavily, and sometimes I may actually lose control. And then I will get down on the floor and start screaming and crying. Not particularly anymore, but back in the day, I was deathly afraid of fire alarms. I still have a little fear of fire alarms, but I wouldn't consider it deathly anymore, particularly because of the noise of it. It was far too loud for me to handle, and it was agonizing, and the suddenness of it all would absolutely just stir me into a meltdown, and then I would just lose all control over my body. That's another common meltdown trigger for me. For me, meltdowns also come from feeling like you're in an absolutely tough conundrum. That isn't even really much of a conundrum in reality, but I've just always had naturally heavy reactions to things, and it's really hard for me to understand the significance of events, so I will get severe overreactions to scenarios. Here's an overreaction I actually had a couple of days ago. So, July 9th is a pretty major day, as July 9th, 2017, I went to a super duper fun music camp and I made several friends. A couple days ago, it was the 2-year anniversary of that, and so me being in a group chat, I texted everybody and I said, "Hey guys, today is the 2-year mark of when camp started." The current day was actually July 8th, 2019. Camp had started July 9th, 2017. I absolutely lost my marbles. I said, "No!" And I just got extremely mad. And to this day, I don't know how I reacted that heavily to that. And the problem was so major, I didn't know what to do. I was absolutely losing it. I was panicking. I was like, "But I already told this group chat that the 2-year anniversary was today, but it's actually tomorrow. I already told it all wrong." And it didn't even faze me that I could have just been like, "Oops, I made a mistake." But it was definitely headed toward a meltdown. Those are just some more examples of things that can trigger meltdowns, at least for me. And once again, I cannot speak on behalf of everybody. I would say that meltdowns pretty much just come from when an autistic person is just so uncomfortable that they can't control themselves anymore, and then they just have to let out all of their feelings. So we have a general idea now of what meltdowns are compared to tantrums. However, they look very similar. So I found this picture online. Meltdown versus tantrum. Are they looking for a reaction, communicating what they need or want? Are they aware of their own safety? Are they in control of their behavior? And are they able to calm down once the situation is restored? If the answer to all of those questions is no, they're having a meltdown, and if the answer to all of those questions is yes, they are having a tantrum. I hope that helps. If any of you guys are still confused, please feel free to comment, and I will gladly alleviate any confusion to the best of my ability. Oh, by the way, here's another thing that I did. So a few years ago, I was in a position where I was just unable to pinpoint a very specific good technique to solve a meltdown. So I was just kind of exploring a little bit with my potential solutions to meltdowns. So one of the things I tried doing was just writing out everything that I was thinking. And it looked like this. Yes, you can laugh. It's actually pretty hilarious. Can we take a moment to stop? Now, you see, we are trying tries of steel that goes together. Why? Feel free to rewind and pause and read it if you want. I look back at it and I find it really entertaining. It's very good to look back on horrifying moments with meltdowns and then just laugh about it, because you live and you grow and you learn. Okay, now let's talk about what to do when you see somebody having a meltdown. Let's say you're in a store. Man, I really love those store scenarios, don't I? You're in a store and you see a person of any age. Age is completely ambiguous here. You see a person with autism on the floor, covering their ears, screaming, and it looks like they have lost all control over their body. First thing you have to do is do your best at staying calm. Exhibit positive, sympathetic behavior with no pity. I emphasize no pity here because if you look at this person and think, oh, poor you, to me that is just kind of squandering in the problem and not actually doing anything to solve it. Do your best at staying calm. Obviously, when somebody is screaming and banging on the floor and they've lost all control over their body, it's going to agitate. So that's why I say do your best at staying calm and exhibit positive, sympathetic behavior with no pity, because when meltdowns happen, it feels like nothing is going right and nobody cares and nobody understands what the heck is going on. So having a helping hand of somebody can seriously make such a tremendous difference. Tip number 2, ask, do you need a quiet place? Directing them to a quiet place is always a good idea. So even if the meltdown actually isn't triggered by sensory overload, my experience with meltdowns is when I am having meltdowns, my senses are automatically heightened. So it ultimately makes things worse. Definitely consider asking if they need a quiet place, as it can be extremely helpful, particularly since all of the senses are dialed down. Okay, tip number 3. Respect the movements and self-stimulating. If they are hitting or hurting themselves, however, redirect them to any other sensory object, like even a backpack. Self-stimulatory behavior, or stimming, is a typical autistic behavior of creating output to block out input, as quoted by the incredible Carly Fleischman. Check her out. Respect it. Because rocking back and forth and flapping hands and shaking your body can actually be extremely comforting. Try it out. Just try jumping up and down and flapping your hands. It feels great, right? So really, it is especially helpful for autistic people as it creates an output to block out the anxious input. And stimming is their own way of helping them out. I highly, highly recommend that you do not ask them to stop their self-stimulatory behavior, because the individual is trying to use a resource that they feel as though is going to be helpful to them. And so trying to get them to stop that, it's like saying you don't have cookies on the shelf when you do have cookies, if that makes any sense. Now, if they are hurting themselves, if they are hitting their head, and if there is self-injurious behavior going on, we do not want that. We do not want anybody to get hurt here. We want the best case scenario for somebody, and we don't want anybody to be physically injured. So if that person needs to move, redirect them to hitting another object. If they're hitting their head on the floor, maybe put a jacket down there or something so it's way softer, and then slowly but surely try and redirect them to another object. Because the moving is helpful, but hurting themselves is harmful. So that is another suggestion. Tip number 4, be reassuring and respectful, and remind them if they don't recover quickly that things are normal. Nothing profound has happened to their life. In my eyes, this is pretty simple. Just be a decent human being, and you can't always expect anybody with autism to recover from a meltdown super quickly. Just be reassuring, and be encouraging, and be a friend, and support them on their journey to nirvana. Well, maybe not nirvana. Support them on their journey to peace of mind. There we go. Tip number 5, redirect them if possible. Talk about something else with them as soon as they are in the quiet environment. If they are still too overstimulated by your voice, be quiet and bring it up when they are calmer. The sound of someone's voice can be absolutely piercing for somebody. You gotta make sure that person is in a moment in which they can handle hearing a voice. Something that has definitely helped me gain peace of mind and come back into the situation feeling much more fresh and much more motivated, and has been something that has actually helped my meltdowns a lot too, has been redirection and distraction. Talk about something they're interested in. If you don't know this person, ask them what they're into. Many autistic people have very specific interests. Them talking about something they're extremely passionate about can definitely add optimism into an otherwise negative situation. Tip number 6, some autistic people like being touched. Some people hate it. If nothing else, ask if you can massage their back or provide sensory input. For me personally, I love touch sensory input. I love things like weighted blankets and fiddling around with fidget toys and all that stuff. However, many people with autism have an aversion to touch. So please, ask first. Ask what's right for them. Because you met one person with autism, you met one person with autism. Everybody's different. Everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses, just like the neurotypical community and the human race as a whole, you know? Visual stimulation is always fun too, and I love watching satisfying videos and all of that, and looking at really fun, colorful things. And several other people with autism may also enjoy that. So that is another way to provide sensory input for satisfaction, but also that fits into the redirection category as well. Whoa. Door opened and things shifted a little bit. Ha! Because I had to briefly stop recording to charge my phone a little bit so it doesn't die! But I am pretty much done with this video anyway, so. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please... Oh, Darla! Say hi to Darla, everybody. This is Darla. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and turn on those post notifications at your own will. Stay tuned for the next video, and if anyone else has any more suggestions about what to do when a meltdown is happening, feel free to let me know in the comments. Also, I'm looking to do some fun videos as well, like some fun challenges, games, activities, stuff like that. Give me some suggestions in the comments of what fun videos you would like to see. Some music is coming soon as well. I love you all. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, everybody. Darla says bye. Bye!